We are live now, huh? We have 220 participants so far.
All are live.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Hello, Dr. Lata Suresh, you are there?
Sir, they are not able to speak or something.
Acha, acha.
Yeah. So they are only attendees.
Right.
If you want to unmute, you just tell us.
I think for 2-3 minutes we can, so that because
Yeah.
we still have some time.
So Brijesh bhai can
At 11 maybe we can just do that.
Okay. Otherwise, Chirag bhai, you can take this technical.
No problem, ma'am.
Okay.
Whom
So
I
I
have-
think for 5 minutes you can unmute the participants also.
Yeah.
All participants?
Not
Yeah.
all.
I think
All,
yes,
yeah.
we can do
All?
all for 5 minutes or minutes.
Okay.
All are mute, please.
All are mute.
Don't do anything. All are mute.
Okay.
Vijayakumar bhai,
Ah,
they want to allow 2 to 3 minutes to unmute to all.
okay. Wait a minute. Okay, done.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Dr. Sri, Dr. Lata Suresh, you are there?
She is there.
Dr. Lata Suresh?
Meeta is there. Meeta.
Nita is there.
Yeah.
Meenal is there also.
Dr. Lata Suresh, can you hear us? I think a lot of people are raising hands. I don't know why. Mr. Dinesh Patel, Aarti, Swani, Nidhi Srivastava, Jacqueline Mary, SM Abbas.
That is to say hi only, no?
Yeah.
No, they want to say something. That is the.
So they can write in a chat box.
But since they are unmuted, you are saying Dhawan?
Yeah.
Vijayakumar bhai,
Ah,
please allow to all of you for few minutes to talk, please.
okay, done.
But
Dr. Lata Suresh? Dr. Nabi Hassan, are you there? Dr. R.K. Sharma?
Lata Suresh is there.
But
Brijesh
Shall I
bhai,
promote them to
unmute.
panelist?
No.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, audible.
Yeah,
audible.
good morning all.
Good morning to you, madam. Good morning. Actually, Dr. Lata Suresh, I could not, get time to see that do's and don'ts which you very kindly sent.
Okay,
So, but today I'll take a look.
sure.
Because there's so many things to do. So
Definitely.
yeah.
We can have one session on that.
True. I think we need to, because yesterday, no, in fact, we need to have a session on decorum for virtual meetings.
Definitely.
I think that
We
is
should have one.
Next time. Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Morning.
Dr. R.K. Sharma, are you there?
તું ઉપર ચેક કરજો થયું લાઈવ.
We are live.
I think we can start, no? It's already 11, no?
Just a second. Let me see how many. I think it's still 1 or 2 minutes left. So
Okay.
yeah.
261 participants joined, sir.
61 have joined. So
good morning to
Meenal
all,
is
sir.
there? Meenal.
Good morning, sir. Dinesh bhai, good morning.
Good morning. Very good morning.
Meenal, are you there?
I think Meenal is not there, ma'am.
Meeta? Meeta, are you there?
Nita was there. Nita said she's already in.
Dr. Shri, I think we can start because we are already live.
No, but let it be 11, na? I think another
Okay.
1 minute is left.
Okay.
So a lot of people must be joining.
Even live streaming of YouTube is not
It started yet, huh?
yet.
Good that people are joining on time. This is very encouraging. So far, 275 people have joined.
Facebook, it is already started.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Neeta is saying, please unmute her.
Yeah, but she's a panelist.
मैं कर सकती
Meenal is also saying.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Yeah. Hi all. Good morning.
Hello.
Morning. Yeah, we can hear you.
Probably the setting was not adjusted.
So, Dr. Sri Kumar,
Yes,
shall we
Yes,
start?
yes.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah,
Yes.
we can.
Hello. Good morning, Dr. Vijayakumar. This is Meeta Rathod.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah. Hi.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
This is Akhtar.
Akhtar, good
Akhtar
morning.
Hussain.
Yeah, good morning. So, Dr. Sri
So
Kumar,
shall we
Yeah, please.
start our session?
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. So Akhtar sir.
Yeah. Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, once again. And we are very happy to have you here today once again. And as you know that yesterday we had authors workshop that was conducted by Cambridge University Press, and we are very happy that we got very good feedback about the workshop. And today again, we are going to have a wonderful lecture by Dr. Vijayakumar, and his topic today is research library support services for open access and open science. And Dr. Vijay Kumar is basically Library Director, Coast University Library, King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, Saudi Arabia. So I'll not go into the details of about his CV, and I would request Dr. M.G. Sri Kumar to kindly introduce him, and then we can proceed. Dr. Sri Kumar, please.
A very good morning to all of you, and please stay safe. Thanks very much, Dr. Akhtar Parvez. Dr. J.K. Vijayakumar, dear Dr. J.K. Vijayakumar, dear Malibnet family, and dear delegates of Malibnet International Virtual LDP, a hearty welcome to the day 2 of the LDP. Yesterday, we all listened to CUP colleagues on the authors workshop and the range of products and services of the Cambridge University Press. It was quite excellent, and we hope you all have enjoyed and benefited from it. Today we have a very dynamic yet simple but a starring librarian colleague from Saudi Arabia, and I take this opportunity to wholeheartedly welcome him aboard the Malibnet LDP flight. Dr. J.K. Vijayakumar will talk on research library support service for open access and open science from his own rich experience and his immense contributions to the KAUST library. Dr. J.K. Vijayakumar is the library director at King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, Saudi Arabia. Dr. Vijay has been with the KAUST University since 2009 as its founding team member. He has immensely contributed to its growth in many leadership roles such as senior subject specialist, research and reference manager, collections and information services manager, interim director, and now as its director. At KAUST, Dr. Vijayakumar has the distinction of leading the KAUST library team to achieve top-class results and recognitions worldwide. Prior to joining KAUST, Dr. Vijay has worked as associate library director at American University of Antigua in West Indies, and was a scientific officer at InFlipNet Ahmedabad. Dr. Vijay possesses a doctorate degree in library information science and has 2 master's degrees in library and information science. Dr. Vijay is a highly sought after speaker and a prolific author. And he has published extensively in reputed journals and conferences. As evidence to this, he has got interesting researcher IDs such as Allstate Researcher ID, Google Scholar ID, etc. Dr. Vijay is quite active in the professional circles, mostly in the international circles now, but you can see him frequenting India and the Asian countries for delivering lectures. He is a member of many library information scientific associations. He is acting as editor for few prestigious journals. Dr. Vijay is a member of the board of directors of the International Association of University Libraries, effective from 2019. So friends, let us welcome Dr. J.K. Vijayakumar.
Thank you, Dr. Srikumar, for the invite and the brief introduction.
Dr.
Also,
Dr. Vijayakumar, can I just say a couple of things? Then
oh, sure. Sorry. Please go ahead.
So, as I said yesterday, all participants are requested to kindly disable their audio and video. Yesterday, we had some problem and there was some embarrassing.
Can you be a little more louder, Dr. Akhtar?
Okay, I am on. So, is it better?
Yeah.
Okay, so all participants are kindly requested to disable their audio and video because, if you unmute yourself, a lot of disturbance happens, which you don't come to know, and it creates a lot of issues with the host. He or she is not able to concentrate. Other thing is that you must ensure that your video is disabled. Yesterday, we had some problem. Some people not maintaining the decorum of the meeting. So I very sincerely request you to kindly disable your video. For question and answer, we suggest that you write all your questions in the chat box. And towards the end of the session, Dr. Srikumar will moderate this session and will discuss about your questions. And of course, Dr. Vijayakumar will answer all your queries. The third thing which I wanted to tell you is that kindly put questions also in the chat box. The rest of the things can be, told to us later on. This good morning, etc., etc. And then I see Dr. Meenal would be sharing the feedback form. It's a Google sheet towards the end of this session, and then you can fill up that sheet. And I have also been asked to inform all of you that certificates will be given to only those participants who attend the LDPs, this Melbourne LDP regularly. So with these things, now I would request Dr. Vijayakumar to kindly start the proceedings of the meeting. And once again, kindly mute your audio and disable your video. Thank you. Dr. Vijayakumar, please.
Thank you. Very good morning to all of you. And thank you, Malibnet, for inviting me for this international online LDP, especially to Dr. Srikumar for the invite and Dr. Meeta for coordinating this. And I want to thank everyone who are taking time and joining this LDP during this difficult situation. We all are in this fight for an invisible enemy. So all part of the world is affected. I'm in Saudi Arabia, so we work remotely. So I am speaking to you from my home. So today, the topic is Research Library Support Service for Open Access and Open Science. And I will also share some of our experience at KAUST. So before going to define the topic, I would like to give you the context from where I'm talking today, because open access and open science, these are very big topics. I came to know after, choosing the topic. So it can go for, days or week of workshop explaining each and every aspect of open access and open science. But I would like to give you a context where I'm talking from, so we can be refined to that. I'm sure you're familiar with the Association of Research Libraries, ARL, which is the US-based network of research libraries, big research libraries in the United States. So they came up with a new impact framework very recently. If you are familiar with the assessment tool called LibQual, LibQual was introduced by Association of Research Libraries many years ago. Many institutions are using that to assess. But recently they have came up with a new impact framework to assess research libraries impact based on research and scholarly life cycle, teaching, learning, and student success, collections, and physical space. You can read more about this framework from the link given below. This framework is used in our own library recently to assess our own impact, what we are making to our university. Basically answering some questions like how libraries help to increase research productivity, how library space are useful, how we contribute to inclusive learning environment, how library special collections are important, library collection is important. But today we will be focusing only on how libraries help to increase research productivity and impact, how special collections includes repository and other digital resources, support promoting teaching and learning. So this is a context I'm talking from. We will be focusing only on research and scholarly life cycle. I also want to give a context from my own institution, King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, which is a very new university, just 10 years old. So in this university is a very research intensive university where we don't have undergraduate programs. So we have MS and PhD programs and up. So the research students are coming into 3 academic divisions. So academic activities, one component of the university, they are into 3 academic divisions. Then second important component of the university is research. They are put it into many research centers, as you can see from the screen. And the faculty members of the academic division is a PI, principal investigator, in each labs, and their MS, PhD students and postdocs are part of that research group. So you can see how research intensive the university is. It is supported by core labs to do their day-to-day research. The third important component of the university is innovation and economic development, where university is trying to commercialize or trying to use the research findings for the better use of the society. So it's a very research intensive university. So I'm talking from these 2 aspects, how the research library support research and life cycle. So let us go to the topic. First, open access. Open access, again, as I told, it's a big topic. We can talk about it, for days. And I'm sure in India, most of the participants of this LDP is coming from India. You all are familiar with open access, but I'm not going to go to more details about it. But let me tell you some basics about it. What is the impact of open access? So this is an image familiar to many of you. Open access give you, if you are a researcher, more exposure to your work. Then more practitioners can apply your findings. You will receive more citation rates because it's reaching to more people. Your research can influence policies. Then public can access your findings, where access to scientific research to the public is very much important nowadays, especially where fake news and post-truth era is happening. Then you can also comply with the grant rules, and taxpayers get value for money. Then people who don't have access to literature can also access open access resources. So this is very crystal clear, and I'm not going to explain much about it. Just to make sure how open access works. For example, if you are a researcher, you are publishing your research article, typically you create your other original version. We call it as preprint. They are submitted to publisher, then peer review happens, and after that, that will be accepted. So we call as an accepted version. So first version is a preprint version, second version is an accepted version, we call postprint. Then there is a final version, which usually appears on publisher journal website. So open access can happen in all these areas. For example, nowadays, researchers, scientists self-archive their preprint to any preprint servers. There are many preprint servers, which I will explain later. Then institution can have their own repositories where authors can submit their accepted version. It may be based on embargoes by the publishers, so it may be a delayed access. It may be delayed by 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. Then if you want to have the open access to the final version of the your work, then you have to pay to publish. So we call it as gold open access. The mid one is called the green open access, and the last one is called the gold open access. So if you remember, in India, Department of Biotechnology and Department of Science and Technology has accepted an open access policy in 2014, which is mandating the scientists to submit their accepted version to the repository, and based on the embargo period, it will be visible to the world. And at KAUST, we also have the similar policy. So this is how open access work. If we look at the real impact of open access, if you look at the open access article shares so far available, 2018 Science Technology Medicine Publishers report shows captured all the studies have done in the world about open access article share, and there are different numbers in terms of percentage. So roughly we can say 30 to 35% of the open access 30 to 35% of the article share is available open access. So still, there is a huge gap. And another study from UK is also almost saying the same thing. About 30% is only available in open access, whether it is gold open access or green open access. So a few years ago, there was a movement called Open Access 2020. Yeah, I'm sure you are familiar with, which has identified, even though after 20 years of open access existence, we are not able to reach the 100% open access. So there are many ideas put forward, and our library is a signatory to Open Access 2020. It was supposed to be all articles published open access by 2020. Now I think it's moved to 2 more years. At the same time, something happening in preprint servers. So preprint, as I showed you in the previous slide, preprint is the first version of your article output. So you can see there is a growing number of preprint platforms, which typically started after 2016. There are more preprint platforms appeared in the world. One of the important or famous or the first preprint version is Arxiv or Archive. You can see from this image, it started in 1992, but in 2018, you can see, though it was started as a high-end physics preprint server, but from this image, you can see nowadays preprints are submitted to many other disciplines within the physics. So it has, increased the usage of preprint servers, submission to preprint servers by scientists and researchers increased tremendously. As it's an opposite trend towards the open access. Open access is still 30%, but preprint servers are used highly. You can see another preprint server, bioRxiv. Detail here. So recently, in terms of COVID research, which started maybe in few months, 6 months maybe, you can see this is a news came up in Science magazine a few weeks ago, which says latest coronavirus research is available in preprint servers. So this started recently a discussion of how scholarly communication work, how to avoid delay in scholarly communication, how can be more open, how more discussions can happen, etc., etc. So this is the current trend in open access, what is happening. The two versions, the accepted version and the final version of your work, of your research article, are influenced mainly by the publisher's policies or copyright policies, but the preprint is not. So researchers and scientists are starting to use preprint more. And after Open Access 2020 movement, there was a Plan S proposal by funding agencies in Europe. In a nutshell, you can say they propose a combination of three routes to reach 100% open access. Route one is gold open access, where you have there are many journals, gold only journals, where you have to pay an article processing charge. Then route two is the university repository route, more into green. Then route three is transition from subscription model to publishing model. So these are called hybrid journals. Hybrid journals contains articles behind paywall and open access articles. So this slide will show you how we can deal, or how we can have these three routes combined together and achieve 100% open access. So in route one, institution can have open access agreement with the gold open access publishers like PLOS or Frontiers or MDPI. There are many gold open access publishers. Plus there are gold only journals with the main publishers. What libraries can do, APCs can be negotiated down. Libraries can help in centralizing the invoice management so that the researchers and others don't need to, worry about their payment to publish in open access. Then the route two, other accepted manuscript can be made openly available after an embargo period. Embargo happens up to 24 months. But there are copyright and reuse restrictions of that version. So in here, institutions or libraries can help institutions in establishing open access policy and repository and integrate with other platforms and add value to that service. Route 3 is something which many institutions started doing now at national level and also at institutional level, where your subscription agreements now moving to read and publish agreements or transformative agreements, where you will be using your subscription money to help the institutions to publish in open access. So you have to negotiate transformative agreements and avoid double dipping. So for example, at KAUST, we have around 7 transformative agreements signed so far as a single institution. So what we have used, the formula is X by Y is Z, where X is the subscription cost, Y is the APC average from a publisher, then we get Z number of free APCs, so that we are making sure double dipping is not happening. Then in repository route 2 side, what we have done is in 2012, the repository was established. Then we have made an open access mandate for our university and also made many integrations, which I will show you in next slides. Then in route 1, which we have started doing that, we have an on agreement with the gold open access publisher MDPI, where through the agreement, APC 10% discount to APCs will be received by our authors. So KAUST repository, some of the statistics you can see from here, journal articles. So there are majority of open access articles, so conference papers, KAUST funded work, thesis and dissertations. So KAUST has a complete e-thesis and dissertation policy. We do not accept a print thesis. We do not keep any print thesis. So for the last 10 years, how many thesis and dissertations submitted there are online in the repository. Then we have data sets, research data sets, then posters, patents, etc., etc. So if you look at the usage, the highest usage coming from Saudi Arabia, usage of the repository, then United States, China, India. So it's our repository is widely used from all over the world. So it crossed the 2 million of file downloads a few months ago. This is within an 8 years period. Our green open access policy compliance rate, you can see. So in 2019, we have reached 73.14% of compliance. So meaning 73% of the total research output is available in the repository for open access. Our aim is to reach 100%. And we also support open access infrastructure like ArcSIF, DOAJ, etc. We are a donor member with them, supporting open access infrastructure internationally. Then this is our preprint usage from KAUST. So it is also increasing. People submit their preprint to the international preprint servers like Archive and Engine Archive, etc. So some of the integrations, how we reached this compliance rate, it's because of the repository systems connections with the different systems within the university. So I will show you how they are connected. This slide I have taken from my colleague who managed the repository, Mohammed. So research repository is linked to publication tracking from all the major citation databases. They also linked it to ORCID. So we have an institutional subscription to ORCID, and we integrated all ORCID profiles to the research repository. Then we have a social altmetric tool called Plumex. It is integrated. Then it's integrated to many search engines and KAUST recent websites and publication list. Then we have faculty annual activity reporting and research evaluation using the pure CRIS system. So both these systems use repository as the single source of publication list of the institution. Then recently we have started a dataset DOI Minder. So we use research repository as a place to keep all the research data sets from the institution. And we took membership with the data site where library can provide DOI registration. In the future, we are also planning to have integration with JISC IRUS, which is an international usage benchmarking tool. Then also with IBM Watson for artificial intelligence based visualization. So in the future, our repository, now the research repository search and displays text based. So in the future, you will have more visualize the feeling of research and discovery from the repository. So this is a way, you link the repository to all the systems, all the platforms, so that researchers and faculty members must have to submit their work to the repository. So this is one way of reaching 100% open access. In terms of gold open access, about read and publish agreements, we have made, as I mentioned before, we have made with 6 publishers. So as a single institution, it was hard. Usually the read and publish agreements happens at national level with consortiums, but as a single institution, we were able to make this many read and publish agreements. So through these agreements, our community can publish around 150 articles free of cost in these publishers. We also try to put the green deposit terms into the subscription license itself. So we have few publishers accepted that. So for the subscription license itself, the publisher, the authors can deposit their accepted version to the repository. So it's written in the subscription license. I just want to show you 2 examples recently happened. The first article is published by our Vice President Academic Affairs, and the second one is co-authored by our Dean Physical Science and Engineering. Both these articles are open access because of the read and publish agreements what we had. with these publishers. So that is all about open access briefly and some examples. Now let us move to the second part, open science, which is much, much bigger than open science. So let me take a step back and think about what is a library, why we are talking about open science. Libraries are always linked to scholarly record. What is a scholarly record? According to the OCLC research report, a scholarly record for faculty is what established their credentials. For a researcher is what is necessary to validate and build on current literature. For publishers, it's what is published. So it can be a book, it can be a journal, it can be a code, it can be anything. But for library, what is a scholarly record? What is selected and preserved? So libraries are known, or library service always connected to the collections what we have. Our services and our systems and our facilities are around the collections what we used to procure. Whether it is print or digital, libraries are related to the scholarly records, which is published or unpublished. Now, what is happening in scientific research? So there is a concept called evolving scholarly record. I'm sure all of you might have seen this image before. This is again coming from OCLC research. So nowadays, a scholarly record is not just the outcome, it's not just the published material. It's all about your research, the methodology, the methods, the lab notebooks, the evidence, the discussion, the revision, the reuse, the data. So the whole infrastructure, the whole process of your research is becoming a scholarly record. So that brings a lot of challenges to the libraries. So earlier we used to procure the printed or the published outcome of the research. Now we have to, our research literature itself is redefined. So we have increasing volume of content, increasing diversity and complexity of content, increasing distribution of custodial responsibility, broader awareness of system-wide context, and many more challenges open research is bringing to us. If libraries are considered as collections-related services, now the new collection is this. So how are we going to deal with it? How are we going to support our institution in doing that? So that is our role. So another context of this, how library can support in research cycle. So research has these 6 components: preparation, gathering, research, publishing, preservation, and measuring. And if you look into all these aspects, libraries have a role to play, and libraries are playing a role in preparation, in gathering, while researchers doing research, while they publish, while they preserve, and while institutions are measuring their research. So research libraries proactively see the opportunities and embed themselves to the research life cycle. So this is what research libraries are supposed to do and are doing. I'm not going to explain each of these points because these are very straightforward. Now, what is open science? So let us put this research life cycle into an open science by default workflow. So the open science is open research workflow. So earlier research were kind of not that much open. Now the research is becoming more and more open, more and more collaborative because of the technology. I'm sure you're familiar with the concepts like data science, etc., and researchers networks, so which brings a lot of collaboration. So its collaboration is possible between the researchers and scientists. So if you look at this new framework from Foster, open research life cycle, in the same research, but there are many more openness is coming. For example, idea and proposal, where open science as part of concept. Test and method, there are open notebook projects. Then data and observations, there is research data management, archive and publishing. There is model code, curate and publishing. Then research articles, there is gold and green open access. While reviewing, there is open peer review coming. In education, open education resources. So there are many things. So if you look at here, the research has moved just from impact factor to co-creation, meaning impact factor is, I'm sure you're familiar with impact factor. It gives you credibility of the journal, or H-index is the credibility of the researcher. So that was in let us say there was a competition between the researchers to have highly have high profiles. But now co-creation and open innovation is going to be the new kind of prestige which is going to bring to the researchers. So science and research is moving towards that, more open. So how can we have open science by default in research life cycle workflow? This image is very crystal clear. And if you look at component of an open science, you can see from this image, open science constitutes open notebooks, open data, open peer review, open access. Open access we already mentioned, it's a part of open science. Then open source, scientific social networks, citizen science, open education resources. And if you give another context to this, in terms of discovery, in terms of analysis, in terms of writing, in terms of publication, in terms of outreach and assessment, there are many tools available. So open science, as I mentioned in previous slides, open science also brings a lot of challenges to the institution and to the libraries. I have provided some links. When you have the slides, you can have a read more about it. But let me take one by one of the open science component. First is open data. We can also call it as research data management. It's assuming that an increasingly prominent place in scholarly communication because of funder requirements, codes of academic practice, university research strategy, and even national policy. Research data management is becoming more and more important. So research data is a combination of different types of materials or outputs, which usually researchers use to validate their publication or validate their findings. So nowadays institutions, especially the funding bodies, are asked to manage this data. Institutions are asked to manage this data. So when you look at, there are two kinds of data we can see. One is raw data, which is produced in seconds or in minutes or in daily basis or in weekly basis or monthly basis. These are raw data produced maybe in a system, maybe manually. Then there are something data, they process and they make it ready. And nowadays, when you publish an article, journals required that research data sets needs to be published along with it. So it's a publishable research data sets. And there needs to be a catalog to represent or published data set output. So in raw data and publishable research data, in both areas, institutions have to play a role. So libraries can play more role in published output data sets, which I have mentioned earlier. We use our repository to publish the research data sets associated with journal articles or the thesis and dissertations submitted to the universities. Then in managing raw research data, we have to work collaboratively with the different departments in the university, including IT, research office, etc., etc. So some of the examples, what an institution we can do, we can provide, advisory services on research data management, and provide services to manage the published research data sets. So we have also joined DRIAD, which is an international research data repository. There are many research data repositories institutions can join where you can utilize their infrastructure to host our research data sets. The second component of open science is open source, meaning for managing the open science activities, institutions have to use open source infrastructure, or we call open infrastructure. I don't need to explain open source because open source is very familiar, including in libraries. We use, majority of the institutions are using nowadays open source software. So the concept here is use similar open source software to manage the open science or research data management, or any open science activities you do in your campus. Another component of the open science is open peer review, which is called OPR. So I'm sure you're familiar with peer review. Some of you may be doing peer review for journals in library science or other disciplines. So peer review was always hidden. So the journal's editor send you the article submitted by someone anonymously, and you provide your review. So this review comments and the discussion between the reviewer and the editor, or reviewer and the author, those all are not publicly available. But nowadays the concept is it has to go public. So open science, the new scholarly record includes the discussion about the work. So the peer review discussion is an important piece of scholarly communication. And nowadays, this has to, people are talking about make it open. So that is open peer review, which provide you transparency, speed of reviews, and reliability and consistency. And it's also a motivation for many people to do open peer review, because open peer review now is becoming part of your own profile, how many reviews you have done. So it's in addition to how many articles you have published, how many citations you have received, plus how many peer review you have done to other work. It's also part of the profiles nowadays. You can see an example from Publon profile, where peer reviews are counted and captured and counted along with your profile. So publishers provide reviewers training. Peer review is part of research profiles now. In libraries, we can include in our awareness sessions, so that you can encourage researchers and scientists to do more peer review in open platforms. Then preprint surveys are the best example, where you can see a lot of open peer review happening. So if I am a scientist, I completed my paper, I submit into a preprint server, and there are people can come and discuss about your work. This is open, so it's an excellent example of discussions. I just want to share one of our own article published based on an open peer review in a journal, Faculty 1000 Research. So this is one of our article. So there were 2 open reviewers to this article. So they have reviewed and the article is accepted. So people can read the reviews and comments about that article. This is just an example. Another component of open science is open notebook science. Open notebook science. So if you have done a lab research, you usually record your, it's a primary record of your research project. You record everything about your work. So nowadays there are online platforms are available to do this, and people are started sharing open notebooks. So let us say if you look into the open access versions I have mentioned in my previous slide, I started from the preprint. So preprint is when you completed your work and you wrote an article, then it becomes a preprint. That is what you submit to the journal. So this is one step back. Open lab notebook is something you really doing your research and you are talking to others through this notebook. You're recording your work and others are seeing it. So it's another way of open science, a more collaborative way of sharing your information much earlier. Open education resource is also another component. And in India, it's a huge, big topic. Many institutions are doing, or many institutions are promoting open education resources for using in their own universities. I don't think I have to speak more about it. Everyone know the concept. You can use textbooks from available open education resources databases free of cost, or your institution can create open education resources for others. Another component of open science is social science networks. I'm sure you're familiar with academia.edu, Mendeley, ResearchGate, and there are many scientific social networks where our scientists and researchers, and we ourselves also members, and where we share our work, we discuss about our work. So this is also another important component of open science, where collaborative discussion can happen. Then one more, I think there is one more component of open science is called citizen science. It is an important component for me, especially in terms of the challenges what we are facing about fake news, because science is not science research output is not available to the world. Even though it's available, it's highly technical information. So how institutions can help bringing this scientific information, which is something understandable to the common people, common citizen, and also help the common people to create their own knowledge, so that the truths, everyone will know the scientific truths, so the fake news kind of things will not be proliferating. So into this, we had some projects at KAUST. We have a birds collection. So birds we found in the university. We created an online database with collaboration with the Health and Safety Group. And this is connected to the International Birds database from Cornell University. So this is done by the citizens. Library don't capture this information, but we provided a platform for them to capture the bird information and add it to the database. Then recently we have a QNO Seeds accession project with in collaboration with other institutions. Then we also provide trainings about how to create wikis, how to edit wiki, how to provide relevant information to Wikipedia. Then another thing is, this is university's science magazine, where they try to bring all our research findings published in this magazine. It's available online free of cost, and which is typically meaningful and understandable to the common people. So this is citizen science, which institutions can do, libraries can take a lead. So it's all about increasing visibility and impact of research activity. So open science, if I am a scientist, if I am a researcher, what is in it for me? With open science, it's all about increasing my visibility and impact of my research activity. So look at this image. There are many tools available in every aspect of this. So what will be library's role? Then open science skills for librarians and researchers. What are the skills we need to acquire when we are considering the new evolving scholarly record as our collection? Now we are very well versed with managing the print and electronic resources. But when we start dealing with, or many of us already started dealing with, the evolving scholarly record as the collection, what are the skill sets we need to continue? So I just saw a few days ago on a position announcement in the University of Trent, which called Open Science Officer position. It's of course not in library, it's called ICT. So what are the skill sets this person need, or people need, or what are the skill sets we need to develop? So we moved up, we came up to open access. So from talking from open access to open science, what are the skill sets we need to do. So open science role of libraries, I think I have one or two more slides. Libraries' role is as enablers, mainly as enablers. Libraries have adapted their role and are now active in the preservation, curation, publication, and dissemination of digital scientific material in the form of publications, data, and other research-related content. It's very important. Libraries are thinking about the collection development, procuring the collections which is published outside, plus creating our own collection through preservation and curation, the research data sets, our own work from the institution. So we take the role as an enabler. We can do advocating and raising awareness, giving support to create the infrastructure. So some of the infrastructure, I have mentioned in the images, it's hidden in the images. What are the infrastructure we can choose? We can collaboratively work with the information technology department and research officers to provide support in creating infrastructure. Then in supporting and contributing to research data management, including creation of a policy, creation of a strategy, procedure, etc., etc. Then most important thing what libraries can do is training and supporting researchers in enabling them to be a good practitioner of open science. Some of the cost examples I want to see again. This is about COVID. So you can see from the image, I did a search in our repository on the technical term COVID, and you can see there are 10 submissions already in the repository about COVID. So we have few research group doing research on COVID, and the repository is the first place for them to include that research work. Many of them are not published yet in a journal, but it's available in the repository. So on the second image, I have red marked some of the integrations in the repository. So you can see the description. This is coming from bioRxiv preprint version. This is a preprint version 2. You can see all the authors have ORCID IDs. And you can see on the left side, this is linked to the altmetrics and Plumex metrics. So you can see how many people are picking up from here, tweeting it, sharing it, downloading it. You can see who sponsors or funding agencies identified, and a digital object identifier. This will remain with this work. And more importantly, the research data sets associated with this work. So this is what I was talking about. How do you integrate your own repository to different aspects of open science? So this is a permanent record for the entire life. This may be published in journals later, but we have the record in the repository. As I said, we also provide a lot of training programs. So every week there will be 1 or 2 training programs on some of the topics we have identified here. We also have guides, library guides written. So I mentioned some of the guides related to open science and open access. We also bring experts and provide outreach lectures. So this is ETH library director was here. We also organize within our community panel discussion with the faculty members. So you can see 3 faculty members who highly use preprint surveys, sharing their story to others. We also run collaborative workshops and training programs about research data management and other open science activities. So that was my talk. I think I didn't take much of your time. I just want to stop here by saying, let us all work together to break the chain. Let us win the war with the invisible enemy. And I want to again thank you all for joining me in this webinar during your difficult situations. I know we all are in different kind of difficult situations. And I want to thank ManLibNet for this opportunity. I want to thank Dr. Srikumar and Dr. Mita and Dr. Parvez and all the ManLibNet fraternity for this opportunity and listening to me.
Can you, thank you very much, Vijay. It has been wonderful. One of the participants was asking whether can you show the last slide once again? Maybe they want to note down.
Sure. This one?
The last slide. Can you share it again?
This one?
No, we are not able to see it, you know.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. We all are learning, you know, how to. Is this one?
Or okay, you can give 15 seconds for this, and also the last slide. Last slide is what was asked. And the next one, the end slide. No, the last one. No, you're going back or going forward? I mean, I want.
So this is the last slide.
Okay. No, the last slide showing your details also, no?
Oh, this one. Okay. Sorry. Contact.
Maybe that's what they are asking.
Have you got some questions? We have maybe we can take 10 more minutes.
Yeah. I will try to include as many questions as possible. First of all, thank you, Vijay. It was very informative, insightful. You have touched upon almost all the gamuts of the entire cycle of open access and open research, open science. What else? And that too, you were not talking just theories. You were just sharing your own experience, your own life experience. So we are all grateful to you. We have a set of questions we have received, and I will go through them. First question is from Dr. Meenal Oak. She is our core member of the this LDP. What is the time interval between two consistent lip call plus performance at a Coast University? Performance assessment.
Okay. So can I answer now? I hope she will be hearing. So we have not used the lip call assessment because we are just 10 years old. We are very new. So this is our first assessment, and we will be using the new framework, which I have shown in the slide, which is in beta version. ARL has not, I don't think ARL has started using it, but they have kept it as a beta version. So if you go to that link, you can download the whole set of questions. There are 172 questions on different aspects of a research library, and you have to find out answers to those questions through various methods. You can have an internal assessment from your own data. There are many data you can find internally. You also have to go out to the users through a questionnaire, so you can develop a questionnaire. Plus, you can also have special interest groups, maybe a group of faculty, group of students, group of researchers. You ask them more detailed questions. So it's a big exercise. So ARL has not proposed a tool on how to do this. So we have came up with our own procedure. But the questions in the impact framework are very, very useful.
Can I go to the next question?
Please.
Yeah, it is from Mr. Manaya Kataria. Do you manage research data? If yes, which software or platform do you use?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So as I mentioned in the slides, research data management has many components. So research data management started happening because either your country has a policy that research data needs to be shared, or your institution has a policy where your research data needs to be shared. That is where you get the framework on what you can be done. But we are working without a policy, so we don't have a policy. So what we have seen is when we consulted our faculty, there are many people, many faculty, many researchers share their data in different platforms. So we thought of addressing, taking a step-by-step approach. So in the slide I have shown, there are raw research data and shareable research data sets, which needs to be associated with a publication. So we addressed that. So we used the DSpace repository to hold those research data sets. For example, all the thesis and dissertation related research data sets are in our repository. Then from some of the other research data sets submitted. The important thing is when you want to have your research data sets in your repository, you need to provide the DOIs for a long-term preservation. So that was the one step we have taken, joined data site. So through our repository, we can provide DOIs from data site to the research data sets. So at the moment we use DSpace because we are not dealing with the raw data right now. So when we move to that side, definitely we need to look for other tools and platforms, which we have not in yet.
One second. This is from Mr. Deepak Srivastava. How open innovation can be beneficial to public libraries? How open innovation can be beneficial to public libraries?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. So open science or open infrastructure or open research, the outputs is for the public. It's betterment of the public. So important impact expected is it will be for beneficial for public in terms of they get to know the scientific results. They will know what is happening. They can also have their own understanding after getting access to this research information. For public libraries, definitely you will have more literature outside available openly, and you can have sessions or orientations or awareness sessions to the public, explaining what are the resources available from open science. So these all are something coming into mind. Maybe any other panelists have some other ideas they can share.
Thank you, Vijay. The fourth question is something which you have just answered, I believe. Which software do you use for repository?
DSpace.
Yeah. And the fifth question is again from Ms. Mannaya. Is there any agreement under read and publish agreement where publisher is offering access of their content free of cost?
Yeah, so all the read and publish agreements have two options. One is read and access. Sorry, read and publish. Read means access. So in traditional subscription licenses, you have only access option. You will have access to the resources. Same is kept. So open access publishing is in addition. And what you are trying to do is you don't overspend. So spending will be equal. So you get both options. So this is the basis of read and publish. And it depends on the publisher, it depends on their APC, it depends on each institution's research output. If your research output is big number, you can win or you may pay more. It all depends on the publisher model and your own research output. Yes, of course, read and publish has both options, access and publish.
Can I go to the next question?
Please.
How did you integrate your research repository to other platforms for measuring impact?
Okay, that's a good question. So for measuring impact, we have a different group, not in the library. We have a research evaluation group. They use a CRIS called Pure. I'm sure you're familiar with the name Pure from a commercial company. So the Pure system is integrated to the research repository so that the data, the publication data from the repository can feed to the CRIS. So this is how it is integrated through APIs.
Yeah. Can you share the JD of Open Science opening?
This I found just 2 days ago. I thought it would have been useful. I'm glad I had it. Can you see it now? Yeah, this one. This is from University of Twente. Maybe you can even go to their website.
It is
and
not, it is blurred. That is why he's asking.
Yeah, so University of Twente. Maybe you can note down the university name and go to their website.
He can go and visit the University of Twente jobs.
Yeah.
Fine. Next question is again from Mr. Deepak Srivastava. How we can link up citizen science with the public libraries? Can you share any idea? As I am a public librarian. Very cute to know.
Yeah, so the citizen science collection, it's supposed to be open and available. So public libraries can share this collection with their users. As I mentioned earlier, you can have awareness sessions and open sessions. And if you have a website, you can link to them. If you have a catalog, you can put it into your catalog. There are many ways you can do the citizen science information. So if you look into majority of the universities, research institutions or research universities started doing this. They look into their own institution, they look into their own collections and try to build up, write article about it, write report about it, or showcase their research output for the public. So it's publicly available, and it's up to you how best you can use through your public interactions.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you. The next question is from our core member, Dr. Akhtar Hussain. Any outsourced services you have opted for providing and managing services?
Yes, that's a good question. So our ILMS, our Integrated Library Management System, we use Koha. We moved to Koha 2 years ago. It's outsourced. And our repository service, DSpace, it's also outsourced to another company.
Okay. The next question is from Mr. Anup Kumar Das. It is great to know about the open science ecosystem in Couchster. How the academic researchers are engaged in sharing and reusing their research data. How do you deal with the increased article processing charges by the reputed OA journals? And do you have any voucher system for OA publishing?
Okay, good.
Should I repeat the question?
No, I got it. So one is about how researchers share, how much they are using the research data sharing. Second is about
how do you deal with APC?
Yeah.
And then the third question is, do you have any voucher system for this OA publishing with any publisher?
Sure. So let me answer the second question first. So regarding open access publishing, the how to deal with the APC, increased APC. So with the gold open access publishers, they have a set APCs already. So I'm not sure we can do much about it, but the only one agreement what we have with the gold open access publisher, we were able to receive a discount. So this is the only one way we can do. We cannot get any other benefit from gold open access publishing, because that is their revenue. They don't have a subscription revenue. Then about the voucher system, if I understood this correctly, it's kind of an offset model. Voucher means you pay $100,000 for a journal publisher subscription. You get equal number of vouchers to publish in APC paid hybrid journals. So this is voucher, but we don't get a voucher as a code or anything, but we get free APCs equal to a voucher kind of setup. So our read and publish, because our read and publish is institutional wise, it's not a national level read and publish agreements where you can have more freedom to negotiate, or more you can leverage your negotiation much higher level. So it's equal to a voucher, though there is no voucher issued. So it's kind of a voucher mechanism. Then how research data is shared. So when we started doing, joining the data site to provide DOIs to our own institution, it came through a faculty survey. So we surveyed many faculty members, selected faculty members, and we identified that they already depositing their research data in international disciplinary repositories, including NASA, then earth science data in many areas. So they are highly, many faculty members are highly depositing and sharing research data. So it's already a culture there.
Okay, can we go to the next question?
Yeah.
This is from Ms. Sujata. She would like to know, is there any preprint platform for art subjects?
Yes, there is. I am not remembering that name. I'm sorry about it. There is. So if you go to, there is something called OSF, Open Science Framework. So if you go there, you can see all the preprint servers listed. I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the arts-based preprint server, but yes, for almost all disciplines nowadays. If you don't find, why not? Your institution can start one. There is an opportunity.
Okay, can we go to the next one? This is from Mr. Satyendra Athia. In the context of open science skills for librarians and researchers, what is citizen science?
No, sorry,
Now, in the context of open science skills for librarians and researchers, what is citizen science? So maybe the question is, how is citizen science relevant for librarians' open science skills? Or researchers' open science skills?
Yeah. So can you see this slide? Is it blurred or? So in the skill sets, what a librarian or researcher need to have.
It's a bit small. I mean, it's not visible.
Yeah. It's not on a big screen. That's a issue. So I will read it. So one is communication and collaboration skills you need in terms of event management, for online interaction, crowdsourcing. This is what we are doing now. Now ManLibNet is able to do this, and thanks to Parul University. Then digital content creation, then information and data literacy. These are skill sets identified. This is identified LIBR. LIBR is the European Research Libraries Group.
Okay. The next question is from Minhajuddin Backer. Is there any open source software for developing mobile application for using library resources?
It's a very technical question. I should ask my system librarian. I am not familiar with that. Probably I can come back to you.
Okay. There is a question from Dr. Annasamy. How many research outputs are coming from your university per year approximately?
Oh, that's a good question. I have some data. I don't remember from my memories.
Some rough estimate?
Yeah, I will just give. Okay, so within up to September 2019, so 10 years, we have around 16,000 publications indexed in Scopus.
Oh, that is great. That's a really great output. I think when you compare with, I think this is comparable to any of the highly advanced universities in the world.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the rate of output, the productivity part of it. And
Yes,
it is
so-
evidenced by the impact also, because it is being indexed in Scopus.
Yeah, so this was 10 years data. 10 years, 16,000. 16 on 6, not 60. It's a good number compared to our size and yeah.
16,000. If you take the average, it is average 1,600 papers per year. Not a
Yeah.
small thing. It's only a very small. I mean, very young university, no?
Mhm.
Okay, and the other question is from Mithul Naziruddin. Is there any parameter to assess the fake information? In COVID-19, we are in the deep sea of infodemic. So how can we assess misinformation based on some specific parameters?
Yeah, I don't have something in front of me, but usually my personal experience is I also get a lot of fake information through WhatsApp or shared on Facebook or on social media or forwarded to an email. So I usually go to relevant resources and check whether it's true or not. So there was for example, related to COVID, there was information about coronavirus will not survive if the temperature is more than 30 degrees Celsius. It was widely shared, and even some of the administrators even shared. So I usually go and check whether it's true, whether it's discussed in at least in a newspaper. So we all have to be, take care on, first of all, how do we evaluate whether this information is fake or not, and we have a responsibility to educate our own users on how to do that.
Now, if I can join you,
Please.
I think the source of the information is actually to be seen, whether it's coming from an authentic source,
Yeah.
and what is their agenda. So these are the two parameters I used to, okay. Can we go to the next, sir?
Yes, please.
Dr. Nihar Patra, how do you measure quality of research before published in OA, and what are the policies?
How do you
measure the quality of research before published in OA?
Before published in OA, okay. So, Dr. Nihar Patra, I know you. Thank you very much for the question, and thank you for joining. So quality in terms of the research work. So your article is based on a research work. So it's all about you, how much, all about the researcher, how much quality in that research work. So publishing in open access or closed access is a different thing. You can have, your articles published in any journal. But if your question was about how to choose the right open access journal, then you have to choose some criteria on choosing an open access journal based on where it is indexed, where it is peer reviewed. So for example, there is a open access directory called DOAJ, which do a good job in identifying quality open access journals. And nowadays, Scopus and Web of Science also started indexing open access journals. So I think I answered your question. So publishing or your research work quality is important, whether you publish in open access or closed access.
Yeah. Thank you. From one more question from Mr. Manaya. Do you feel DSpace is good platform to manage research data because it requires different metadata standards and structures?
Yeah, definitely not. There needs to be, there are many other platforms which we should look into. So as I mentioned, our approach was a need-based approach. So right now our need is served through DSpace. But when we go into a much bigger scale, we will think about other platforms. So maybe we can take one more question if you have.
Here is a good question, I believe. So then with this, we can conclude. Samhati Sur. from Samhati Sur. To handle research data, do you have customized DC only or used any other specific metadata standard?
Right now, we allow deposit in
Maybe for the
research.
benefit of all others, DC we can say Dublin core, you know.
Dublin core, yeah.
Yeah.
So because this DSpace follow that, so we use that metadata. We don't have any other metadata yet.
You qualify it or you use the unqualified metadata? Dublin core. I'm asking Dr. Vijay. Do you qualify it or you use the standard Dublin core?
Now we have based on Dublin core, there is a metadata standard in the repository we use for different, yeah, for different type of formats. For example, if it is a conference proceeding, so when you submit, you choose conference proceedings, you have a qualified metadata standard only for conference. If you choose data set, then there is a separate form, but based on the Dublin core inbuilt in DSpace.
There is one question. I think that maybe contextually okay. Then I think it is from Ravindra Mende. Can we access your institutional repository? That's a question. But I think it is obvious,
yeah,
no?
Yeah. It's open access repository.
It is open access, no? Oh, thank you so much, Vijay. Now the formal vote of thanks will come from my colleague, Dr. Dhaval Ben Bhatt, Parul University. But before that, salutation to you and your team for the excellent work being done. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable time and being with us and enlightening all of us with your insightful, informative, highly mind-boggling. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr. Dhaval.
Yes, sir. On behalf of team of ManLibNet, a very special thanks to Dr. J.K. Vijayakumar, Library Director, King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, Saudi Arabia. Sir, we heartily special thanks to you, sir.
Your video is not seen. Now you have to unmute your video.
Oh, okay.
I can see.
No, not Vijay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on behalf of team of ManLibNet, a very special thanks to Sir you for this. So when we requested to Dr. Vijayakumar has readily agreed to deliver the talk to Research Library Support Service for Open Access and Open Science for the International Virtual LDP. So we from very bottom of our heart express our sincere gratitude to Dr. J.K. Vijayakumar sir for conducting a very high effective session. Thank you very much, sir, for sparing your valuable time from your busy schedule for this event. A very big thank you to participants of this session. The active participation of the delegates was very much reflected during the question answer sessions. So thank you very much for your active participation and interactions. ManLibNet take this opportunity to sincere thanks to Parul University for the kind consent to use this ICT facility for conducting LDP. That is not needed right now. Also, special thanks to our technical team for conducting the session effectively. Thank you very much for the entire team of ManLibNet for their shared vision and continued support. With this end of this technical session, we conclude our session today, and we shall meet again tomorrow at 5 p.m., not 11 a.m. So please note that for another important and interesting presentation. The link for the tomorrow's session will be shared by the General Secretary on the registered email IDs of the participants. So you are requested to submit your feedback for this session. Special thanks to my professional friend, Mr. Nasruddin, Mitul Nasruddin, for attending this session. Till then, goodbye. Take care, stay home, stay safe. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Bye bye.